Okay, we waited till the last second to shoot this video and now it's too dark. Okay, so in this video, we're talking about how I would turn my passion into a business based off the questions that I got from my good friend Vince. You asked me to talk about the difficulties that we faced. So that's a huge question. There's a lot of difficulties that we faced. And the problem is it's really hard to answer that because we went through phases. In our business, because for one thing, we're in a relationship very early, like early 20s, right? Like 22, 23, something like that, when we first started dating. And we committed to each other pretty early on. Like we were lucky that we weren't really looking to date anybody else. We weren't looking for anything like that. We were both pretty settled people. So I think that in turn helped us get through a lot of the difficulties that I'm going to talk about right now. But not right now because the freaking battery is going to die. Alright, I had to use this camera because the other one doesn't work very well in low light. Okay, so we're talking about, I don't have a tripod. We're talking about the difficulties we faced. Oh, man. It's a good question because obviously, you know, I don't want to tell you something obvious. Because everybody's gonna come up with problems, and maybe they're really similar too. But maybe the thing that I can share is maybe share why we're still here, even though we had so many problems, and not just like business stuff, but like relationship stuff too. Not that we had a bad relationship. It's that it's really hard to work with somebody else when you're not. When you yourself are not a good communicator. So we were very young. I would say that, for me anyway, that was the most stressful thing because I wasn't a good communicator and neither was Kevin, and we had a very Asian way of dealing with things, and that we didn't know how to communicate and say what we really felt and meant, and a lot of times we just didn't know how to do it. So I think maybe it's a good thing that you guys are starting at that age where you've kind of been around the block just as a human being, where we hadn't. You know, it's not like we were experienced people who were experienced in relationships and then doing a business, you know, like we were just figuring it out all the time. And fortunately, like I was saying earlier before I got cut off, is like we were very committed sort of people, you know. We're very decisive. So when we make a decision, we're in it. You know, it's the same thing with our relationship. Even though we have many hang-ups, but we would fight and whatever. Like there was always something that pulled us through. And in the beginning, it was Kevin's forgiveness in a lot of ways, and then my forgiveness in a lot of ways, and we would take turns forgiving each other. Forgiving each other of our shortcomings, having the sense, the patience, the love, whatever it was, you know, having the grand vision to just keep going and keep working together. There was a time where I was resentful because I didn't know how to speak up. I didn't know how to give myself a voice in the relationship of both the lovers relationship, you know, like our relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend back in the day, and then as business partners, being able to set forward my ideas when he really didn't have any he didn't have any obligation or any proof to believe me. So those are the things that I think were the most difficult. And the next thing that I could maybe tell you, and you know, we kind of grew out of that, and the way that you deal with that is being just better human beings for each other. With you being in a partnership with another person, it's kind of the same way, but maybe not, because with your significant other, you'll say things that you would never say to a friend. You know, we can be quite mean to our significant others because they have to see us at our worst and at our best. They see everything of us, and you know, we don't necessarily share that with the same face to a business partner or to a friend. So it's a little different, but they still, in a way, can be that friend barrier can be sort of like a weird buffer that keeps you from being honest with each other. So it's weird. It's like it's all relative sort of deal where no matter what the relationship is, I think learning to be a really good communicator is very important. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is leadership. Who leads, who follows? In a 50-50 partnership, like I always say, it's not 50-50. Somebody's going to have more inclination or more strength and or weakness with certain things in the business. And so sometimes you have to lead in certain things, and you have to be willing to lead. There are a lot of times where I feel like I'm leading things that before I would feel like I'm leading things that I shouldn't be, because like, oh, now it's expected of me to lead when to lead in marketing, for example. Now it's expected for me to lead in marketing when it was not clear that you believe in what I'm preach about marketing. Like, it was kind of weird. There was no clear communication. That stuff we ironed out kind of like maybe 2 years ago to last year to now. We're still ironing things out about who does what, when one is leading, one is following. A lot of times with Kevin and I and our business, it's sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen. We both have very strong leadership qualities and personalities. We want to be the leader. We want to have the credit. We want to put our name on things. And there are many times where I had to learn how to put my own ego aside, just because I have an ego, it wasn't even earned, and give way. And then hopefully me, by doing that and leading and giving way and not always thinking about myself, I could inspire Kevin to do the same. Because like I said, we're very similar. We like to think about ourselves. We have a very strong tendency to think in the only child syndrome, where it's all about me. And when you're in a partnership, your partner can't feel left out. It creates resentment. It creates imbalance. It creates a partner who doesn't want to work as hard anymore. So there's all these interpersonal dynamics that go into a relationship, and I feel I guess it's the same, whether it's a marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, a partner, platonic friends. A lot of those things I think are going to be the same, because you're still working on the same project, which is your business. And nobody likes to feel left out or unappreciated, no matter what. The only difference is you're not, being intimate with each other. So it's like, there really is no difference really in terms of that. So as I'm losing the sun here, I mean, there's so many difficulties that we faced, but a lot of them dealt with that human element of feelings. Feelings. And when we I remember there was this kind of breaking point where I'm sensitive, okay? And I think everybody can be sensitive at some point, especially about their work, because they're passionate about it and they put their heart into it. And Kevin can be just as sensitive too, and I see that when I give critique of his images even now. Artists are sensitive. You're an artist, and we want to always know that the people that are supposed to be on our team are just rooting for us and saying that our work is awesome all the time. There were a lot of times where we had to cut off emotion. Cut off the emotion of things, look at the grand picture of things, think about the business, think about the data, the logistics of it, the cold hard facts, to make decisions on things, to move through things, to stop fighting, or to stop being, there's a word for it in Tagalog, but passive aggressive. You know, passive aggressive, yeah. Passive aggressive about things, being too sensitive about things. And we had a little code word between us back in the day, losing light. And we said game time, where it was just like, hey, it's not about our feelings right now. It's about game time, it's go time. It's about the business. And I'm sorry if I'm being short. I'm sorry, you know, and by saying game time, we were saying all the things that a sensitive person needs to hear when we cannot and don't have the time to be sensitive, or just don't want to bother with it. We do that all the time now. Game time. I got an email to answer. You know, like, we're hustling right now. And for us, that works. It still stings when you get kind of shut off because you want to be, I don't know, let's say you want to be cute or whatever. I don't know. I'm talking about our own life right now, and you should be talking about you guys. But, yeah, have a code word of cutting off emotion where it's like, hey, we got our code word. It's game time. It's go time. It's about the business right now. I'm sorry if I'm being short with you. If I sound irritated or whatever. Like, fuck all that right now. It's about getting that shmoney, right? Like Cardi B says. So, that's it. It's partner dynamics, man. It's all these things that... It's all the in-between things. I feel like you're going to run into a lot of the same problems and issues that you could hella Google and be like, oh yeah, you know, 5 ways to run your business with a partner well. Dude, it's going to be an experiment. Accept that it's going to be an experiment. And that it's not always going to be easy. And that the hard parts are there for a reason. If it was easy, everybody would do it, you know? Everybody would do it. What we do is hard. And there's a lot of shit that a lot of people don't see. We put up a lot of fancy photos and fun photos on Instagram. I always put that. I put smiling photos of Kevin and I in front of the camera, screenshots of us. In between, man, take after take when maybe he's not getting the lines or something, or I'm frustrated or I'm irritated with the way that he said something to me. You know, all those little things that kind of happens that go in between the lines, all that shit is there still. 10 years later, this shit is not even focusing because I don't have any light. Here, is that better? Kind of. But yeah, partner dynamics. I would read a lot of books on team building, team strengthening, what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a follower. You cannot be a leader without being and understanding what it means to follow. Following is just as important as leading. And knowing when to switch back and forth between those two and having a partner that understands that. We're still kind of working on that a little bit. And I think we always will because, like I said, you know, I just explained our personality is very, very similar. So I would read a lot of books on that. Let that spark your mind. When I read a lot of books on leadership in the first quarter of this year, I just saw so many flaws in myself, which was like awesome and then degrading at the same time. And then it's like dying a little bit and then being born again a better leader. And that's what happened to me, I feel. I was going through some crisis, man, because I was like, I'm doing all this shit wrong. And that's okay. That's okay because I already know. I already been through this kind of ringer of breakdown many, many times. And just know that that will happen to you in a business sense where ideas or phases of you will die and a new one will come out from that. A stronger one, a more evolved one. And as long as you know that going through, like the hard times are never going to be that hard or that bad or it'll feel really painful and stuff like that, but I don't know, when you've been through it so many times of like regenerating yourself and regenerating your business, you'll be all right. I don't have any light. Sorry about that. But I was on a good vibe. So thank you for listening. It's been a long video. I'd love to have more questions coming through from you and see where your progress is at, maybe in a couple months, and we can touch base and all that stuff, and I can make more videos and all that stuff. So, yeah. All right, good things. See you in the next one.